Welcome to Data Structures, CSC 2180. My name is David Frazier, and I'll be the instructor for this class. Most of you I've met before, some of you have had in class before. Um, so this is a summer course. It's a asynchronous online course, which means there's no set time that you have to do any class meetings or any of that stuff. Okay. So by instructor information here, I'm looking at the simple syllabus on UVAY's Canvas site. Okay. My office location hours don't really matter because I'm not going to be there. Um, there will be virtual office hours. I will send out a message to kind of gauge when people would like to meet. Could be anytime during the day that we can find that mutually works. So we should have those every week. In addition, this is my cell phone number. It's actually a Google Voice number. You can text this number, or you can call this number, or you can email me. Any of those things. Um, I'll say it a lot, and you'll see it on the videos a lot. I'm trying to shut down my phone here. That this course happens quick. Okay. So therefore, you want to definitely reach out if you have questions. So this introductory video is going to possibly be a little long. We'll see how it works. The other videos I've tried to keep under 15 minutes. I don't always make it, but that's kind of how it works. Okay. So anyway, it's a 4-hour course, which makes it even more fun during the summer. Basically, every day of class is equivalent to a week of class during the regular semester. Okay, so everything's super compressed. Okay. Um, the course outcomes here, we're going to create complex C++ programs. This should be an extension of your C++ course that you had. We're going to understand abstract data types, what they are, how to create them. We're going to be able to write C++ programs that involve data structures such as lists, trees, stacks, queues, graphs, all those things. Okay. And be able to model and write solutions using the appropriate data structures. Okay. No textbook for the class. All the material is going to be available online. All material for the entire semester should be there from day one. Okay. So you can work ahead as you have time. Standard 90, 80, 70 scale. I don't do pluses and minuses, and I don't round. I mean, except I do normal math rounding. I don't modify grades except to round. So let me keep that clear. Okay. So if you have an 89.5, you have an A. If you have an 89.4, you have a B. Okay. As far as the grading, again, being summer and being weird and with AI being a constant threat to all of us, this is how the grading is going to go. Okay. So we have every day in class. We'll see this in a minute. Every day in class, there'll be a video, there'll be a tutorial, and there'll be a lab assignment. Okay. So each of those lab assignments are due the next day. Okay. Those daily lab programs are worth 20% of your final grade. And they're mostly on a, if you complete it and then write the little reflection document about how you completed it, you get credit. Okay. Right and wrong is not the biggest point there. Okay. What I do grade right and wrong on is in the portfolio. We'll look at that in a minute. There are 4 portfolio assignments that'll be can't say that word. I try to say scattered and staggered at the same time. They'll be spread out during the 5 weeks of the course, and those are graded more strictly. Those should work. Those are going to be on GitHub. We'll talk about GitHub as we go along, and those are worth 80% of your final grade because that's where the bulk of the grade comes from. Okay. Most of the rest of this doesn't really apply. Okay. Um, yeah. So if you have to be absent, then work ahead. Okay, don't get behind is the main way. This class happens so quick. If you get behind, it's kind of all over. Okay, and I don't want that for any of you. Okay. Um, hmm. so the cheating policy, we just want to make sure you're doing your own work. So this course is not about getting the grade, at least not in the grand scheme of your life. I mean, you may think it is right now. This course is about learning the skills that you need to be successful in your other computer science or swag or whatever your major is. Okay. It's also important that when you get to the job interviews and get on the job, that you understand how to do these things, right? Data structures appear on most programming exams or programming portions of interviews that they give you. Okay, so it's certainly an important thing to keep in mind. Okay, so the basic idea is do your own work unless it's a group project, and we don't have group projects in this class in particular. Okay, it's okay to ask other students, how did you do that? and have them discuss general solutions or point you to ways or ways to get started. That's okay, but don't share code. Okay. I think now the bigger threat is artificial intelligence. Will it do your homework for you in this class? Very likely it will. Will it get an A? Probably. Will I catch you? Who knows? It used to be I would say, yes, I will catch you. Now it's hard to say. But there's a fair chance I'll catch you, and the results are not good for that. Or the ramifications of that are not good. You'll get a zero for the assignment. But I think the bigger thing is that if I catch you using AI on an assignment, or even if I suspect strongly, it means that I will never give you a good recommendation when it comes to a job. I just won't trust you anymore. Trust is important. Okay. So that's not something to take lightly. You may think, I don't care if he gives me a recommendation now, but someday you may. So just keep that in mind. But the bigger issue is you owe it to yourself to learn this material. Okay. This is material that's important. This is the keystone course, especially in computer science. All of the other courses have this as a prereq for a reason, right? This shows your programming maturity, it shows your logical thinking, and it shows your C++ skills. Okay, so don't shortchange yourself. There'll be a separate video on AI, but in general, the correct way is do the program yourself. If you need information, ask AI for a tutorial, ask it for examples, that's okay. Do it yourself. If you have bugs that you can't figure out the normal way of tracing them, put it into an AI, ask it what's wrong, then go back to your code, fix it yourself. Never cut and paste. Okay. Students oftentimes will do a program, ask AI if it's correct. AI will say it's not, but here's the correct version. They'll cut and paste it. You're short circuiting your brain learning. Okay, which is important. Okay. Um, the rest of that, yeah, that's all there is. I don't know why it says there's a video quiz. I don't think that's really there. I was testing that out, um, but I don't think we're going to do any quizzes at all. Okay. I don't know that there are any tutoring sessions available at all during the summer. Okay. So I don't think that's going to be a thing. If you have a disability through the American Disability Act, make sure that you let me know as soon as you can so I can make accommodations for that. Again, we have no in-person classes. There's nothing timed in particular, so I don't know that's going to come up. Okay. Um, Title IX and sexual misconduct and harassment. I don't allow it. It's harder online, but in any case, if I hear of it, then I will not be a happy person. Okay. And then the honor code, of course, is a big deal. Here's the campus AI policy. Okay. And again, I will have a separate video that explains what you can and can't do. Okay. There's more stuff that's always in there. Inclement weather policy won't matter. We're not physically in class. Okay. And then mental health services are available if you're struggling, right? Okay. So don't struggle in silence. There's no shame in getting help if you need it. Okay. There's technical support available if you have issues with your computer or your iPad or any of that. You can give them a call and see what they can do for you. Okay. So that's the syllabus. It's out there already. Um, Here's the modules for the class. So this is kind of how things are going to be organized. So there's some general class items, and a lot of these are tutorials and things we're going to be doing. Okay. So for example, with GitHub, GitHub is going to be used for the portfolio. If you haven't heard of GitHub before, it's an online repository where you can put your programs. And you can put these things called markup files, which are like lightweight HTML documents, okay, or fancy text documents. So GitHub is used throughout industry. It's a good skill to have for sure. I've got some students that are interning at CGI this summer, and they're talking about learning GitHub. Okay, so GitHub's a good thing. So there are two videos that I've created to help you with this. Okay, and then there's the Markdown file creation. You'll use that for your reflections. Okay, so there's a tutorial and there's a video for that. We'll also be doing make files, which are a way when we're doing abstract data types. We have a header file and an implementation file. We can use a make file to make it easier to compile those. Okay. And there's again a tutorial and a video for that. The server that we're going to be, so everything's going to be on the server to start with, at least. We'll put things to GitHub from the server. It's going to be on a Linux terminal. Okay. So I'll step through that here in a second as well. There's separate video for that. Anyway, so lots of videos. Okay. Just our tool chain, just there's an image that I've created. I actually had AI create. So we're going to be starting with an editor to write and edit our code. I use Emacs. If you don't have one, Emacs is a good choice. If you happen to know Vim or VI, use that. Doesn't matter to me. Okay. So once we create our programs on the server, once we've logged into the server, we're going to run the G++ compiler, okay, to turn our text code, our programs into executable. Okay. And then for the portfolio, we'll take those and upload those to GitHub. Okay. Um, for the regular labs, I have root access in the server. I will be able to come into your directory and see your code for the labs. So so if you're in the correct directory for the labs, then you are done and ready to go and you've turned it in. Okay. So these tutorials are up here at the top. There's also the standard template library tutorial. We hit a little of that along the way. We'll talk about vectors. I think we may talk about one other along the way. There's more of a tutorial here. Okay. Then we have the portfolio. So we'll hit this more as it goes along, but it's worth looking at up front for you. Okay. So a note that I am testing out integrating, in particular, Claude Pro artificial intelligence into my course planning. Okay. So all of the documents I've created, I will create the content or tell Claude the content that I want. It produces a rough draft that I edit. Okay. So everything pretty much that you see, AI will have touched. Also, everything that you will see, I will have looked at, verified, and make sure that I agree with it and that it is correct. Okay. I made many corrections along the way with things that I did not like. I've taught this course a long time, and I wanted to make sure that it was doing it the correct way. Okay. So this is just the general guidelines for the portfolio. There are 4 items. This is just your grade breakdown again. It's the portfolio itself, okay, and then how I'm going to grade it on how much 35% for correctness. Does it work? And then we're going to talk later about Valgrind, which is a way to check for memory leaks. So that's another part of it. The code quality, if you have readable names, if it's spaced well, if it looks good, all those. And then finally, there's going to be a reflection for each one, okay, which is some understanding and kind of the story of how you got the portfolio working. What bugs did you have? What problems did you face? And all of that. Okay. So here are the due dates for these. It's out there all the time. Again, all these have to be pushed to GitHub. Okay, so the GitHub, again, there's separate tutorials on all of that. Okay. And then the first portfolio item is on Stacks, and it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do. Okay. So this is when it's due. Here's what we're trying to do. Here are the different required files. Here's what we're going to do with it. Okay. Here's the reflection and requirements. So it gives you kind of the prompts to do for this reflection that we're going to do for each of our assignments. Okay. And then what each part is worth. Okay. Again, 4 of those scattered out throughout the semester. Okay. Then we get into the weekly assignments. Okay. Again, 5-week course. So we start, there should be there, these are not all done yet, but hopefully they will be done by the time class starts. It starts with an overview, okay, which just tells us what we're doing this week. Okay. So that's just kind of a narrative to set the stage. Okay. And then I've broken it down into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we have something 5 days a week. Every day there will be a video. Okay. So the videos, I assume you've seen this before, you often have to click on them twice to get them to work. Okay. You'll watch the video. I try to keep them short. If they can't be short, I try to put in timestamps so you kind of know what's going on. So if you need to look in more than one session, that's fine. And then there'll be a tutorial. Okay, which is a document again that I created with Claude. Okay, it tells you what to do, all the things that we need. Okay, and then lastly, every day there will be a lab. Okay, so the lab is going to give you specific tasks to complete and then ways to turn those in. Okay. So that's the basic idea there. And that will complete every day, or it will complete, that will repeat every day. Okay. So again, if you know in advance that Friday you're not going to be able to do anything. Okay. Well, Friday's a good day to miss because the Friday assignments will be due on Monday. Okay. But let's say Wednesday you're going to be out of town and you know Wednesday is going to be shot for you. Okay. The way to approach that is before Wednesday happens. Okay. So go ahead and get Monday and Tuesday, and then you have to do them in order. It's not going to make any sense. But go ahead and do Wednesday early. Okay. And when you have the time, it's not a bad idea to get a day or two ahead if you can. That gives you time in case something goes wrong in your life, in case you get busy, or in case there's a program that's harder than you thought it was going to be. Okay. I encourage you to have a set time as much as you can every day at 10 o'clock. I'm going to get started on this, whatever it is. Okay. I do not think that waiting till midnight to get started is a very good solution, unless you're a real night owl. Okay. So you do you for sure. Okay. So again, these follow the same pattern every day, every day. Okay. Again, there's no turning in things. You put them on the server and that's good. Okay. We'll talk about the directories in a minute. And each of these lab assignments, when we get down into the ones that are more programming ones, let's look at this one here. Okay. So this one's on stack applications. Okay. So we have the setup here. Okay. And one thing I will say is that whenever it tells you to make a directory, okay, you don't have to do that. I went ahead and made all the directories. Okay. And whenever you see the XXX, it means 2180. So yeah, you won't do that step. Okay. But you will change into the correct directories. Okay. And it'll be the files that you have to make and all that stuff. And here's some copying you'll do. Okay. So this copy is important because I have some files out there um, to get you started. Okay. That you'll copy those over. Okay. There are bound to be errors in the 25 tutorials and 25 labs and 25 videos that I created. So if so, I will post those somewhere, probably as an announcement. But if something's just not working, ask right away. Okay, I'm usually pretty good at responding. I'm not a night owl, so I may answer you at 5 a.m. It's unlikely I'm going to answer you at 10 p.m. Okay, that's just how that goes. Okay, then it goes through, tells you all the things that you need to know. Okay, and that's where you go for that. Okay. At the very end, there's a section here on some things that we're not going to get to. Okay. So there are things that I would normally cover, and I'll probably give these better titles. Okay. And but we just don't have the time. There's not as much time in 5 weeks as there is in 15. There's no way to make it that way. So in particular, the self-balancing trees, the AVL trees, and those rotations, there's a tutorial here that you should look at. It's important to know. We're not going to cover it. There's no assignment on it. You don't have to know it for this class, but it's just good for you to know in general. Also, templates. A templated function is one that takes the type. So if you have a function or that yeah a function that sums up integers, where you could that same function could also take doubles or whatever if you make them templated. Okay, more information there. And then some of the things from the standard template library at the end that we don't cover much are sets and maps. Those are important to know. Okay, so those are all there for you to look at the end. It should be up for a while after the class ends, so there shouldn't be any trouble there. Okay. I've not been the biggest fan of discussion boards in general, but I will put a discussion board up here in the class in the general class items. If you want to post something, I will look at it and I can answer it. Other students can answer it. It's just in the past, students haven't used it a lot. But if you want to, then that's fine. Okay. So again, the best way to get a hold of me is to text me on that number that's in the syllabus. It's number one quickest way. Again, you can also call on that number. You can also email me. So whatever works for you. But the general rule for me, if you're trying to get something to work, it's not working, I would work on it for an hour, let's say. Okay. Still not working. I would go take a walk or play a video game or watch a video or do something. Okay. Then come back to it. If you're still stuck after another hour, then it's time to ask for help. Okay. Then that's when you should text me and we'll get things working. Okay. If it's just something not working at all, you can't log on to the server, any of that stuff, you're not going to fix that yourself. So immediately let me know. Okay. As of this video recording, there are 5 students in the class, which means I have time to help you out. Okay. Also, all the course prep is done for me. I mean, I've spent uh, the most of June and a fair bit of May working on this. So it's ready to go. So all I have to do is grade things and answer your questions. So don't be shy, don't hesitate. We'll have the weekly, probably 2 different times, um, the weekly online office hours. Come to those, even if you don't have questions, to hear what other people, what questions other people have. Okay. And again, don't be afraid to reach out. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at now the server, get an idea of how that works. Okay. There's another video on this as well, but this is just the beginning overview of that. Okay. So to get to the server, if you're on a Mac, you can go to the terminal. Okay. If you're on Windows, I think Windows has a terminal kind of command shell, whatever it is. There's instructions in a separate document. But however you get to this, or on a Linux machine, if that's where you're running, you can also just go directly from the terminal. Okay. Um, we're going to use something called SSH. Okay. So we're going to SSH into the server. We're going to SSH into our username. That's the first part of your email. Okay. And I've created an account for everybody already. Then the @ symbol, and then the name of the server is Ludwig. Okay, it's at MCS, Math and Computer Science, UVA-Edu. We're going to SSH into that server. The first time it'll ask you to verify the fingerprint, you'll say yes, and then you type in your password. And the first password for everybody, I believe, is QWE123, but then you'll set your own password. Okay. So once you're here, it's Linux. It doesn't really give anything. This is it, right? You have nothing. Okay. So if you do a PWD for present working directory, you see that you are in the home directory and then your username. This is your home directory. Okay. And you will have or you'll create, no, it should already be there, a CSC 2180 directory. Okay. There's a bunch in there. So let me instead, I'm going to go ahead and go to root on the server. And I'll go ahead and find one of the new accounts that I just created. So it'll be somebody in this class. This password. There we go. Okay, so we'll go with Cecilia's account. She's the last there. Okay, so I'm going to do a switch user to her. 6KV. Okay. And then if you ever want to go to your home directory, if you do a CD tilde, it takes you there. PWD, that's her home directory. Okay, so what's there? Okay, so what's there is this CSC 2180 directory. You should all have that. I can CD into that. Okay. And now you see that there's a week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5 already made for you. Okay. And these are the ones in the labs that'll say you create this directory. You don't need to. Okay. So I go into week 01. You can see there's a lab 1, lab 2, lab 3, lab 4, and lab 5. Okay. So if it were lab 3 I was doing, I would then CD into lab 03. And there's nothing there, but this is where I would start. Okay, this is where you would do the work. Okay, so the programs for Lab 3, if they're in your home directory, your CSC 2180 subdirectory, week 1 into that, Lab 3, you're good. You've turned it in. Okay, so that's the important part there. Okay, so there are a lot of starter files that are in each of the labs. Okay, that's some code to get you started, so you don't have to do the whole thing yourself. Okay. If you do a cd/srv/csc2180, okay, you'll see that there's a starters directory everybody can get to. And this has the first starter files are in lab 3. Okay, so you can then cd into lab 03. Okay, and you can see these are the files that you're going to use for lab 3. Okay, and then again, to use those, okay, so let's go back and start the process. Give another example there. I'm going to cd tilde to get to her home directory. Okay. I'm then going to cd into, okay, lab 3 would be in week 1. So first I'm going to do the CST 2180 slash week 01, okay, slash lab 03. Okay. So I'm now pwd in this directory. I would now do a copy. Okay, a copy from slash srv slash csc 2180 slash, okay, starters, okay, and then it would be lab 03, okay, and I would copy the files that I want, whatever the name would be. So like driver.cpp, and then important, you put a space and then put a period, okay, and that if I do that, it doesn't say anything, but that file is now there. Okay, and I have rights to it. Okay, so that's what's important about that. So you'll do that, and then you can Emacs on that. Okay, and that's a bunch of code that you'll be. This is the driver program, so there's probably not much you would do there. This is going to test your program. Okay. Okay, so not to confuse her later, I'm going to head and remove this program. Okay, we're back to clear. Okay. Okay. So that's the basic idea of things. Okay. I also want to go through a Hello World example. I think there's another video that does this, but just so we're clear, we get into my home directory. Okay. Okay. So if we have hello world.cpp, I'm going to use Emacs for that. Okay. So I'm going to insert stream by using namespace standard. This should all be review for you. Int main. I always like to put in my return 0 because I forget it. Okay. I'm just going to see out hello world. Okay. Simple enough. And then again, there's a whole tutorial on Emacs, but once I'm in Emacs, you can move up and down, you can type. Notice that in Emacs, it spaces for me automatically. I didn't have to put any of the spaces in. If the spacing doesn't work right, okay, you'll know because if I do that, you see the cursor is not at the end. Okay, that means I probably messed something up. So I go back here and it puts it right where it needs to be. Okay. It also color codes it depending on your computer. The color coding may be different. So just so you know that, the strings are in this magenta color and commands are in this, some commands are in white and some are in the pink color or whatever. Okay. So Control X, Control S will save a file. Control X, Control C exits. Okay. And I've got too many files there, but it's there. Okay, so I can now do a G++. We're going to do these command line options dash wall, okay, which turns on all of our warnings. Okay. Dash O is the name of the file we want it to be called when we're done. So we want it to be called hello world with no extension. Okay. And then the file name that we want to actually run is the hello world.cpp. Okay. Type that in, hit enter. It doesn't like something. Oh, I didn't include IOStream. Did I include IOStream? Yes. Apparently I did something wrong there. Well, let me see what I did. It's good to create errors. That way would be something. Oh, it's include, not insert. I'm doing the wrong language. Let's try it. I knew it when I did that. I was wrong, but anyway, that's good. Okay. So let's try that again just so we see what happened. The word clear clears everything. I do the G++ line. Again, what I'm doing, I'm using a program called Warp, which is available for Mac and Windows. It's a really fully featured terminal emulator. It's free. You should download it if you're interested. If not, anything should work. But if I hit the up arrow, it kind of keeps your histories. Okay, so you don't type it in again. So I do that. When it works, it doesn't do anything. Okay, it did nothing at all. Okay, it doesn't give us any feedback. Okay, but then I can do the dot slash hello world and it runs the program that I just created. Okay. So that's the basic idea of the flow. That's our tool chain. So typically you'll do Emacs to create your program. Well, actually, the beginning of a lab, you'll read through the lab, you'll copy over the starter file. So get onto the server, go into the directory for this week. Okay, go into your CSE 2180, go into the week, go into the lab number. You'll copy over those files from the SRV CSE 2180 directories, the SRV CSE 2180 starters directory. Okay, you'll copy those files over. You'll edit those. You'll make those changes. You'll use the G++ to compile individual programs. For many of them, you'll have multiple programs, and you can do the make file. If there's a make file there, or it asks you to create a make file, to work a make file, you just type the word make in with no capital letters. It does everything for you. It creates all your files. Okay. You then run them, make sure they work. Okay. And then later on, as part of that process, we'll get into the Valgrind, which is a program that checks for memory leaks. Okay. So that's the tool chain in action. That's what you do. Okay. The portfolios, you will, in addition to creating them on the server, you'll create a directory. There's a video that tells you how to do this on GitHub. You create the directory, you create your GitHub repository first at github.com. You then go to the server and create a directory that is a local clone of that online repository. And you do the work there, and then you can upload files back and forth. Okay. So this has been way too long of a video. You've probably all fallen asleep now. But anyway, I wanted to give you an overview of where we're heading and what it is that we'll be doing in the class. Okay, so again, don't get behind, keep up with things, go work ahead when you get a chance in case you get slowed down by things. Okay, and don't wait around if you have questions. You gotta let me know right away, and we will get you back on track as best we can.